Hello, everyone. Today, we'll discuss the academic integrity policy of this course and what constitutes as cheating and academic misconduct. So let's start with the part one, which has the course overview, the study groups, and quiz collaborations. So there are four parts we will be touching upon today. That is quizzes, homework part one, homework part two, and finally the project. The quizzes generally consist of multiple choice questions, including numerical calculations, programming related questions, and research paper analysis. For homework part one, you would need to build a deep learning library from scratch using NumPy without using existing libraries such as PyTorch and TensorFlow. Homework part two involves handling Kaggle competitions and training neural networks using PyTorch. And the last part we'd be talking about is the project. Uh, so before going in depth for the above four course evaluations, we would discuss about study groups, which play a crucial role in this course. At the start of the course, you will each be assigned a study group. Each study group will consist of at most 4 people, and you will also be assigned one study mentor as well. Throughout the course, you must collaborate with your study group, whether it's for homework, quizzes, or projects, but keep in mind the academic integrity guidelines. So now coming to quizzes, you can discuss doubts with your group mates, share thoughts on your questions, and recommend relevant section from lectures or reference materials, but you cannot directly share answers with each other. Do not search for exact questions on Google or ask LLMs for answers as well. For coding questions, you can help the pseudocode or explain the problem, but do not share the code.
So now let's look at the rules for homeworks and projects. So every homework has part ones and part two. You can look at the workflow of homeworks recitation to understand this in more detail. But in general, for part one, you are allowed to discuss the pseudocode with members in your study group. You are allowed to understand and explain how to implement something. You can look at someone else's code only to understand how they've implemented it, but not while you yourself are writing the code. So if we do see that there's a lot of similarity between your code and someone else's code, it will trigger an AIV. You are allowed to ask your study group members for help with autograder issues. And if you feel like you have to look up some specific functions or documentations online, which you think would be useful, that is allowed as well. What is not allowed is, like I said, copying code from the internet, copying code from someone in the class or in your study group. You cannot look at someone else's code while you're coding, and you cannot write code for your friends. For part twos, everything that was applicable in part one is also applicable in part two. But in addition to that, what is allowed is you can have a common ablation sheet between the members of your study group, and all of you can log details about hyperparameters, results that were successful, what failed, why it went wrong, and so on. On OneDB, you can also have a common team where all of you can continue to log your results there and discuss about what is working and what is not. You can also get inspired from existing deep learning implementations through research papers and also try to implement that as a part of your homework part two. But what is not allowed is you cannot use pre-trained models from the internet or from your friend or anyone in the class. You cannot do any fine tuning of models that are picked up from the internet. Coming to projects, with suitable attribution, you are allowed to use code, models, or data from the internet. You can reach out to authors of the previous paper in case you don't find any of these readily available. What is not allowed is non-attribution. You cannot violate any license term. You have to follow state laws while you're gathering data, and you cannot manipulate, fabricate data or results just for your report. We will ensure that all of these are thoroughly checked. Some important points: whenever you have questions that include code or debugging doubts, you have to raise a private post. And it is your responsibility to keep your notebooks and code private. Otherwise, this will trigger an AIV. And any case of AIV will be handled according to university policy. You can look at the link that is linked here. Thank you.